Hi scholars, welcome to your math lesson for this Thursday. As I mentioned in my routines video, rocking that UVA hat. And this Thursday we will be doing a multiplication review because we do have an Illuminate quiz that you will find in your Google Classroom. But I just wanted to walk through a couple of reminders. You might be wondering, why is Miss Cupp in so much UVA gear? As I mentioned, on April 8th, 2019, so a year ago yesterday, UVA won the men's basketball national championship. I love basketball, so this was a very exciting day for me. So to celebrate, I decided to make this lesson a little bit UVA themed. So when you get into the forum, you'll meet some of my friends. So a year ago today, this was them. They won the game. This is all the confetti falling on them. They have all their trophies. And this was their reaction to winning. Also, my reaction when they won was very similar, screaming and yelling. So since it was such a fun day, and because it was hot day and I got to wear my UVA hat, I thought I would rock and roll with our UVA theme multiplication lesson. Before we get into our lesson, some reminders. We know that multiplication is basically, I'm going to move my video so you can see, is basically when a number is added over and over and over and over again to result in a product. We know a product is just the answer to a multiplication equation. It's the number we end on when we're skip counting to find. It is the product. It is the product. We call this idea to find a product repeated addition or skip counting, depending on the strategy that you're using. The numbers we actually multiply together are called factors. So if you had a multiplication equation that had a number times another number, we know that that's a factor times another factor that results or equals a product. So whatever number you put in here, it could be 12 times 3, it could be 4 times 2. Those are two factors that we are multiplying together to equal a product. We know that mathematicians read the multiplication sign, or the thing that looks like an X, as groups of. So I really want us to be in that habit of reading the multiplication sign as groups of. So instead of saying 2 times 3, we know that 2 times 3 actually means two groups of 3, or to be even more specific, it means two groups of 3 things in each group. Two groups with 3 things in each group. So I could have 2 groups of basketballs, and maybe I have 3 basketballs in each group. So I know I can skip count by 2s or 3s to find my product of 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, or I can go 3, 6. So I would have 6 total basketballs in that example. To solve multiplication problems, on Tuesday, we talked about a bunch of different strategies, and yesterday we even talked about some more that we can be using to solve multiplication problems. You can draw a picture. You can use repeated addition. You can skip count. You can use finger rolling songs. You can draw an area model, which was when we draw our squares and you think about it like an array. There's tons of strategies that we can use to solve multiplication problems. However, we know that good mathematicians are always trying to use the most efficient strategy they can. That means they're trying to always be using the strategy that they can solve quick and fast, but still well and accurately. So for some of us, that might still be skip counting. That might be some drawing a picture, drawing a model. That's totally fine. But I am going to be reminding us that good mathematicians are always trying to pick the most efficient strategy. So try those strategies that we can maybe move quick and fast first, and then check your work with another strategy. Like on Tuesday, I challenged a lot of you guys to be using skip counting, to be using area models, to be using your finger rolling songs instead of using maybe repeated addition or drawing a picture, just because those strategies do tend to take a little bit longer. But we can always be checking our first initial strategy with another strategy that maybe we're super, super confident with to check our work. So let's get into the actual review for today, my friends. Alrighty, so let's begin our guided practice for today. As a reminder, I don't know how you would have gotten here if you hadn't, but you need to have made sure you watched the routine video and you entered in a number that fit those 3 clues. But let's get cracking for today. So we know that we're working on a multiplication review, so we're going to be talking about adding equal groups over and over again. I'm going to show a few strategies for each problem, but I'm going to give you time to attempt each problem as well. We're going to make sure that this video is kind of on the shorter side so that you guys have time for your quiz. So let's rock and roll. Hopefully, unlike me, you guys already wrote the date, which is April 9th, 2020 at the top of your paper, just like this. Down the middle, across the top. Let's get cracking. All right, so the story problem says, if Kyle Guy, who is pictured right here, shooting what would end up being a game-winning 3 against Auburn, if Kyle Guy made a lot of 3-point shots during the March Madness basketball tournament. So those are the shots that are far out because they're farther out. They're more difficult. There were 3 points instead of the standard 2 points in basketball. So if he made 8 3-point shots in the championship game, how many points did he score altogether? So Kyle Guy made a lot of 3-point shots during the March Madness basketball tournament. If he made 8 shots worth 3 points each, how many points did he score? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to solve this problem. I want a number sentence to match, and I want at least 2 strategies, but 1 strategy that isn't repeated addition. All right, 2 minutes are on the clock to solve this problem. Now I will reveal to you my answer. Ready? Alrighty, go. Reminder, if you've already solved it with 1 strategy, go ahead and use another strategy. Also looking for that number sentence. I want to know how many shots he made or how many points he scored altogether. About 30 seconds left. My challenge to you is if you're a Hadley scholar and you haven't tried that finger rolling for 3s, go ahead and use that strategy. If you're a Maribel scholar, I will link the YouTube video to learn your finger rolling 3 song. Don't worry. About 10 more seconds, excuse me, until I reveal the answer. 3, 2, and 1. Time is up. Let's reveal. So hopefully you recognize that this story problem is talking about 8 groups of 3. He made 8 shots. Each shot is worth 3 points. So he has 8 groups of 3 points. So I always like to write the groups up just to remind myself. So 8 groups of 3, which I know means 8 times 3 because groups of is how a mathematician would read that multiplication side. So I said 8 times 3. The way I solved this was, and in this case, I forgot my variable. Silly Miss Cupp, and I'll say silly Miss Cupp. It's okay if you say it. P for points. So the way I solved it the first time was I skip counted. To me, this is the most efficient strategy, and I'm pretty good at skip counting by 3s. So what I did was, and I wrote them down as I said them out loud. So I said 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. I stopped once I got to 24 because I knew I was holding 8 fingers up. That means I had 8 groups of 3 already. You could also sing your finger rolling song to yourself for your 3s. Now, to check my work, I went ahead and I took another strategy. I used my modeling strategy, which does take a little bit longer. Buffy is even here. She's going to help us check our work. All right, Miss Buff, you're not doing much helping if you're preventing me from showing the work, my friend. All right, so I drew my 8 groups. I put 3 in each group. And I marked my counting. So I knew that there was 3 in the first one. And then I counted and went 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth. Miss Buff agrees. That's why her tail is twitching. Do you think so, Bubba? Yeah? Oh, yep, she agreed. She pointed her nose at 24. So she thinks that's also the answer. All right, girly Q. Hop on down, friend. She's super excited. All right, so I know my answer is 24. Another way you could do this is repeated addition. The reason that I didn't necessarily do repeated addition was I could still count on my fingers, and to me that was faster. In the time it would take me to write 3 plus 3 equals 6, 6 plus 3 equals 9, I can be thinking to myself, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. As I'm using my hand to support my counting, I'm still moving a group each time. So we know our answer to this is 24. Kyle Guy made 24 points just on 3-point shots in that championship game. That's gnarly. It's a lot of points. All right, for question 2. You're going to see some questions like this on your quiz. I don't want you to get tripped up. The way I want you to read these questions that look like this are just like I would put it in this story problem here that I made for you guys. So UVA beat Texas Tech, which is another school in Texas, by 8 points during the championship game. So the difference between their scores was 8 points. What factor do you have to multiply 8 by to make the number sentence below true? So what factor, what number do I have to put in this blank here? We know a factor is just when we multiply two numbers together. Those are factors. We talked about that already in the beginning. What factor needs to go in that blank to make that number sentence true? Basically, the way I'm going to read this is how many times do I have to count by 8 in order to get 56? So that's how I'm going to think about this to myself. That's how I'm going to even annotate it. So I'm going to say 8 times what number equals 56, just to remind myself. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to skip count by 8s until I get 56. I know skip counting by 8s might be a little bit tricky, so I might support myself with my fingers. That's why it's super important to actually mark our skip counting down if we're still learning how to skip count. So I'm going to go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Sorry, I just did that wrong. 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. So I'm going to skip count by 8s. I go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've counted 8 times. I reached 16, so I'm going to write that down. Now again, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Counted another 8, got to 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Got another 8, got to 32. I'm not going to skip count on my fingers because I know if I add 8 to 32 with 2 in the ones place, 8 plus 2 is 10. So it's just going to be 40. Now I'm not going to skip count. I'm not going to roll my fingers again because I know 40 plus 8 is just 48. There's nothing in the ones place that's going to change 8. And then 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. So I got to 56. Now all I'm going to do is count how many times I had to skip count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know then my answer is 7. So I know that 7 goes into that blank. So I'm just going to look for the answer choice that says 7. Well, 5 is too little. I know 8 times 2 is just 8 plus 8, which is 16. 6, I did hear that's 48. I know that's not my answer choice, but 7 was. So I'm going to click that. All right, we're getting some basketball array review up in here. Let me erase those notes. So select all the expressions that match this array. So we know an array is just a configuration of equal groups. So what expressions below match this array? I know select all. That means I'm going to have how many answers? Show me on your hand. Show me. All right, as long as you're holding up a number that's more than 1, you're absolutely rocking it. Yeah, it means I'm probably going to have more than one answer. They're telling me to select all. So it means I'm going to be really careful when I evaluate my answer choices here. So I know that I need something that has, I'm going to count, I'm going to annotate. I know that this has 3 rows. And I know that it has, I keep forgetting I can use this to show you. So now it has 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 columns. So I'm just going to write that as some notes to remind myself. I could also annotate this. We know annotating just helps us mark up our questions to get them right and organize our thinking. I could also just quickly sketch it and do 3 by 3. That could help me as well. Now, I know that if there's 3 rows and there's 3 columns, that means each row should have 3 in it and each column should have 3 in it, which I can see looking at the basketballs here. So I'm thinking to myself, does 3 plus 3 match this? Evaluate. Yeah, it does not match this. So if you have a thumbs down, go ahead and kiss your brain. I know it's a little bit difficult to do if you have a baseball cap on like I do. But yeah, no, 3 plus 3, that would mean there are 2 rows of 3, right? Because I would be doing 3 plus 3. But I have a whole other row here that this expression does not include. So I'm going to cross it out. I know it's not an answer choice. Obviously, you guys can't mark up on your computer. So what I would do is I would write A, B, C, D, since there's 4 answer choices. And I would just put an X next to A because we know that's not our answer choice. 3 times 3. Evaluate. Do we think that matches? If you have a thumbs up, go ahead and show me some muscles. Yep, because you're flexing your brain. Yeah, absolutely. This is correct here because I can look at the dimensions. I know it's 3 by 3. I would write that like 3 times 3. And I also know that if that means 3 rows by 3 columns. So this is correct. I also know that 3 times 3 is 3, 6, 9. And just looking at this, there are 3, 6, 9, or the ones I've already circled, 3, 6, 9 total. So that does match this array. Now, does 3 plus 3 plus 3 match this array? Evaluate. Yeah, if you have a thumbs up, go ahead and give yourself a spicy meatball cheer because absolutely, yeah, this totally matches. We talked about how earlier 3 plus 3, answer A, didn't match because it only had 2 rows, and we have 3 rows. Since this accounts for 3 rows, there's 1, 2, 3 groups of 3. Yeah, it totally matches. So you can give C a check. Now, looking at this last one, does this match 3 split into groups of 3 or 3 split into 3 groups? No, there's more than 3 things here, so that does not match. Automatically, I'm not even going to bother looking at anything else because I know that this number is my start value for a division number sentence, which we'll talk more about next week. And I know that there's more than 3 things here, so I know that's not an answer choice. So my 2 answers are these middle 2. All right. Our last practice problem before I want you guys to head on over and take that Illuminate quiz is, this is my man, DeAndre Hunter. He currently plays for, I believe, Atlanta, or at least that's where he got drafted to. So he's in the NBA now, as is Mr. Kyle Guy, featured up here. He plays for the Sacramento Kings. So DeAndre Hunter, and this is true, he made 6 regular shots worth 2 points and 5 shots worth 3 points. How many points did he score all together? What do you notice about this story problem? What do you notice about the groups of? Giving you some time to think. I hope that you're thinking aloud something that sounds like this. I noticed that actually I have 2 different multiplication expressions going on here, right? So he says here he made 6 regular shots worth 2 points, right? So that tells me, I'm going to go ahead and move my scratch paper over to the other side because I ran out of room. If you did, no big deal. Just do what I'm doing. So that tells me I know if he made 6 shots worth 2 points, that right there is 6 groups of 2, which I know is not the only thing it made because later in the story, it tells me he also made 5 shots. How about I do it in another color here so we know that they're different. But I also know he made, should do an orange for UVA color, shouldn't I? Yeah. 5 shots worth 3 points. So I know that in addition to, so he did make that 6 groups of 2 or 6 shots worth 2 points, but in addition to, so I'm adding on, he also made more shots. So I know that I'm adding whatever these 2 values are together. Because I know that I'm combining them, I'm adding them, I'm actually going to draw an addition sign. So he made those 6 groups of 2 shots, of 2 points, those 6 shots worth 2 points, but he also made 5 shots worth 3 points, or 5 3-pointers. So I know here he also has 5 groups of 3. Sorry, I had to write a little small so I could wedge it all into the same thing. So he made 6 regular shots worth 2 points. That's the 6 groups of 2. But he also made 5 3-pointers, so 5 groups of 3, like we talked about with the Kyle guy problem at the beginning. So I know a mathematician would represent this first part of my number sentence like 6 groups of 2, 6 multiplied by 2, 6 times 2. And I know that they're going to add however much that is, plus the 5 groups of 3, or 5 times 3. Now, I don't know how much he scored yet. That's my job in this problem, is to solve this. So I'm going to equal P for points. So I know that I'm going to solve this part of my problem. Then I'm going to solve this part of my problem. And then my final step is to combine them. Now, some of you might want to draw parentheses around these values. You actually don't have to, because you always multiply first. That's something you're going to learn a little bit later when you guys are older. But think about this. This means 6 groups of 2. So I'm always going to do that first, because I don't know what 6 groups of 2 is yet. So let's do this part together. 6 groups of 2. That means I can count by 2s 6 times, or by 6 2 times, however you want to do it. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And I write that underneath. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I know that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that this is equal to 12. So this group right here is equal to 12. Now I need to add the 12 points that he got just from regular 2-point shots to the total amount of points he got from his 3-point shots, right? We know that you can score from all over the court. They have different values. So now we need to come over here and do this part of the equation. So 5 groups of 3, that means I either need to skip count by 3 5 times, or flip them, because we know that can still work, right? I think it's faster to count by 5, so I'm going to count by 5s 3 times, but I'm going to check it by counting by 3. So 5, 10, 15. And then we'll double check it by saying 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yep. I'll write my 3's down, since technically this is 5 groups of 3. So now I need to add 12 plus 15. I'm going to give you, I don't know, I'm going to say 30 seconds to solve this before I show you my answer, because you guys are all more than capable of solving 12 plus 15. 30 seconds is on my phone right now. Go. Don't know why I just moved my video. Sorry, friends. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. My suggestion is break it apart into 10s and 1s. So I have 1 10 here, another 10 here. 10 plus 10 equals 20. A 2 here, a 5 here. 2 plus 5 equals 7. 20 plus 7 is 27. So according to my math here, DeAndre Hunter scored 27 points in the championship game, which is true. He actually did score 27 points. He also had 9 blocks, which is pretty crazy, or 9 rebounds, which is pretty crazy. So another way we can do this, maybe if the number sentences or the skip counting aren't your cup of tea, the way I would break apart this problem is my 6 regular shots worth 2 points. I would still keep that as 6 times 2, 6 groups of 2. And then maybe I just add up how many I have here. So I would have my 6 groups of 2 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 in each. Then I would think, okay, now I have my 5 groups of 3 from up here. So I'm going to do 5 times 3 equals and represent that in a picture, if pictures are my jam. And then you can actually just add these together. That's the same thing we just did in number sentences and skip counting above. If this isn't your jam, use your pictures and then just add them all together. Since in this case, we are combining, we want to know how much he scored all together. So I know this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then what I can do is I can either start and count this and add the two values, or I can just go, okay, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And just by adding them all up, I still got the same answer of 27. And of course, UVA theme, I had to tell you how many points the great Mr. DeAndre Hunter scored. So wanted to bring that story problem to you. So in that case, he did score those 27. Sorry, can't seem to click with my thing on here. Yeah. So he did score those 27 points.